Welcome back to the Whiskey Couch, Pretoria, South Africa, with me, GUSTAV MULLER, as your host. This here is Whiskey Tasting and Food Pairing Review number 139. And in this video, I'm interrupting the mini-series that I'm doing on 21-year-old single malts because it is St. Patrick's Day today. So I thought it fitting to do a Jameson, which is an Irish whiskey, to do a review and some food pairing on an Irish whiskey, seeing that it is St. Patrick's Day. And my choice is Jameson Caskmates, the Stout Edition. Jameson Caskmates, the Stout Edition. Jameson brand goes back to around 1780. And it is produced at the Middleton Distillery in County Cork, Ireland. I've got a photo here. That is the old Middleton Distillery, and this is the brand new one built a couple of years ago. So just an idea of what the Middleton Distillery looks like in County Cork, Ireland. It's owned by Irish Distillers, which is part of the Pernod Ricard group. Now this Jameson Caskmates triple distilled Irish whiskey is a no-age statement, and it is the normal Jameson whiskey, but finished for between 5 to 6 months, probably in casks that were seasoned with stout craft beer from the Franciscan Well Brewery, and then bottled at 43%, and I do believe it's only 40% in the European market, but 43% here in the South African market. So this is the Jameson Caskmates. There's also one or two additional bottlings since this one. I think the other one is the IPA edition, and so on. So it's easy. We've been distilling Jameson since 1780, but we're always open to new ideas. So when a local craft brewer borrowed our cask to age their fine Irish stout, it gave us an idea. Why not finish our own precious liquid in stout seasoned oak barrels? This result is Jameson Caskmates, a special edition whiskey that accentuates the trademark smoothness of Jameson Original, with additional rich flavors, coffee, cacao, and gentle hint of hops. Jameson Caskmates for St. Patrick's Day on this very Saturday. And I always say that this is sunny South Africa, but today it is cloudy outside, it is raining all day. So we have a typical Irish day, very fitting. Unusual for South Africa, but fitting for this particular St. Patrick's Day. There is the color, darker than the original Jameson, deep gold to between deep gold and deep copper. The color after it's been in those stout beer seasoned casks. Yo, this is very interesting. Immediately, straight up, the hops from the stout casks, the hops and the stout beer and the coffee and the chocolate and the malt, but the Jameson sweetness is still there. The vanilla, the sweet grain, the almost grassiness and the fruitiness is still evident on the nose as well. This is such an interesting experiment because you pick up the Jameson, you pick up the wonderful smooth, sweet Irish pot still flavors, the vanilla, the spices, but it is now intermingled. It's like infused with rich, creamy, stout beer flavors, some chocolate, some of the beer hops, and I must say it is quite well integrated. There's a short finish, a short to medium long finish. It's warm, and the Jameson sweetness and the stout beer flavors are sort of just lingering for a little while, and then it disappears. So interesting to experience the integrated flavors of the Jameson and the beer. Rich, creamy, Jameson sweetness, creamy, stout beer. I think this is very interesting. This would not be my favorite Irish whiskey, not at all. But it is interesting. It's interesting that they did this, and it makes it an adventure. So I've added a few drops of water, and the oily reaction there, 43%. More grain sweetness, more stout beer aromas. With a few drops of water, it's even smoother, but still with that wonderful richness. My summary would simply be a stout beer flavored Jameson whiskey, and it is actually quite enjoyable for that evening or that afternoon when you want to drink something that's completely different. The price here in South Africa is around 350 Rand. It translates to about 28 pounds or about 30 plus dollars, US dollars. Pairing this triple distilled Jameson Caskmates whiskey with a food snack, I am going to experiment a bit today. I have bought myself 2 Irish cheeses. I've got the Kerrygold Dubliner cheese. It is a aged cheese with distinctive taste and a rich sweetness. This Dubliner cheese has got a nutty flavor, some sweet flavors, and then also some sharp flavors. So I've already tried this yesterday, and then I've got the Kerrygold Irish white cheddar, which is slightly different. And so yesterday my wife and I did some experiments, and I prefer the Dubliner and my wife prefers the white cheddar. Both Irish cheeses to pair with this whiskey. I prefer the Dubliner because of the nuttiness and the sweetness and the creaminess, and I find that it pairs quite well with this interesting no age statement whiskey. It's a semi-hard cheese, quite creamy, the saltiness, the nuttiness, that slight sweetness. So interesting, it is as if it softens the whiskey even more, bringing out some more of the vanilla flavors. A very, very good pairing. I'm going to try the other one as well. And this, of course, is a blended whiskey, the Jameson Caskmates. Irish white cheddar, a little sharper. Oh, this one brings out the sweetness in the whiskey. The other one brought out the sort of fruitiness and the vanilla in the whiskey. So very different reactions, but I still prefer the Dubliner Irish cheese with this blended whiskey, matured or finished in stout beer seasoned casks. Well, just to have a bit of fun, I actually do have a Guinness stout beer. It is a draft. A Guinness draft. Let me just see. What does it say? Guinness draft. Oh, there we go. Stout. So let me show you. It's a Guinness draft, and there we go. A stout beer. So an Irish stout beer that I've got right here. I'm not a beer expert, but I'm going to, just for fun, I'm going to see what does this do to the Irish whiskey on this St. Patrick's Day. Stout beer, slightly bitter, creamy, chocolate coffee. Wow, now this is almost overly sweet. So the stout beer brings out the sweetness, kaboom, out of this whiskey like you cannot believe. The whiskey in turn is making the beer slightly sweeter, so there's not so much bitterness anymore. And the sweetness again, with the slight bitter hops in the whiskey. This is actually quite interesting. One can have so much fun. Anyway, happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. Thank you for subscribing, clicking the subscribe button, and also recommending this channel to your friends. In the next video, I am continuing with the 21-year-old single malt whiskies, the 4 that is in the mini series. So until then, sláinte.